Welcome back to the ranking show here on Flurry Sports. Tonight, we're going to be doing something that it feels like a lot of people on Twitter are doing right now, and we are going to be ranking the best quarterback wide receiver duos in the NFL. We're not doing a tier list like we typically do. We're just going to go for the top five. So we'll go through what I believe is the best quarterback wide receiver duo in each team. We'll probably wipe out almost all of them right away, and then we will argue for the top five. If you were in the chat, if you were in the comments after the fact, definitely argue for your top five and possibly let us know who you think the worst is from a team. Has to be a number one receiver. You can't be like Jordan Love and Samori Toure. Like, who cares? No one cares about Toure. You have to go for the number one. Luke's in the middle, Trevor on the right. I am Zach. Anything before we get started here?
Nope.
Okay, let's go over what I deem the top five. If you have an argument about any of them, if you think it's a different combination from that team, interrupt me. Otherwise, let's just cruise through these 32. Trying to find the tab it's in. Cruise through these 32, and then we will see. But right away, first one I have for Green Bay. We're going through the North here. I have Jordan Love and a question mark. I don't think he has a number one receiver. Lions, Goff, and Amon-Ra. Vikings, I have McCarthy and Jefferson. Yes, McCarthy's the starter. Bears, I have Caleb Williams and DJ Moore. Steelers, Russell Wilson, George Pickens. Ravens, Lamar Jackson, Zay Flowers. Browns, Deshaun Watson, Amari Cooper. Bengals, Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase. To the West, we have Geno Smith and DK Metcalf in Seattle. Brock Purdy and Brandon Ayuk currently in San Francisco. I have Stafford and Puka Nacua for the Rams over Cooper Kupp. I have Kyler Murray and Marvin Harrison Jr. for Arizona. Kansas City, it's the only non-wide receiver, even though he is a wide receiver. Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce. For sure, the wide receiver one there. For the Broncos, I have Bo Nix and Courtland Sutton. Chargers, I have Justin Herbert and Johnston. Can't even remember his first name. For the Raiders, I have a question mark at quarterback. It's either Aiden O'Connell or Gardner Minshew, I suppose. And then Devontae Adams. To the South, we have Bryce Young and Deontay Johnson. For the Saints, we have Derek Carr and Chris Olave. The Falcons are Kirk Cousins, Drake London. Buccaneers, Baker Mayfield, Mike Evans. Colts are Anthony Richardson and Michael Pittman Jr. For the Jags, we got Trevor Lawrence, Christian Kirk. Texans is now CJ Stroud and Stephon Diggs. Titans are Will Levis and DeAndre Hopkins. To the East, we have Dak Prescott, CeeDee Lamb in Dallas, Jalen Hurts, A.J. Brown in Philly, Jaden Daniels, Terry McLaurin in Washington, Daniel Jones and Malik Neighbors for the Giants, Aaron Rodgers, Garrett Wilson for the Jets, Josh Allen, and I suppose Keon Coleman for the Bills, and then Tua Tyreek for Miami. In New England is Drake May and question mark. Okay. Do we have a disagreement with any of the combination of players, first off?
No, I do not. And just my opinion here, filling in the question marks. Probably Jordan Love, Romeo Dobbs, Gardner Minshew, Devontae Adams, Drake May, and Jalen Polk.
Okay. Regardless of your opinion of the question mark, I feel like that rules them out.
For sure. But no, yeah.
Yeah. That's fine. I think you could argue for a variety of combinations for any of them other than Vegas. I assume is Gardner Minshew, but who the hell knows? It might be a quarterback that's not even on the roster yet. But let's just rule out the question marks to start. Okay.
Sucks seeing Devontae Adams go like that.
It does. And there's some really good receivers who just don't have quarterbacks at the moment, which blows. Do we think we should eliminate rookies?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sure.
So again, Justin Jefferson's off the board then. That's fair.
Yep.
He's off the board. Caleb Williams as well. But yeah, Josh Allen's off the board as well.
Giants.
Daniels and Giants. Shit.
And Washington, yep.
Yeah. Okay. So rookies gone.
Nix.
Oh yeah, Bo Nix. I suppose he's a rookie. He's the oldest rookie I've ever seen.
Lawrence plays like a rookie. Can we get rid of him too or no?
Not yet, because there's certainly some worse ones.
He's not getting paid like a rookie.
He is not. He is not. Okay. I assume I'm just going to go down, argue if you want to argue if they are top 10. Because once we get top 10, I think we can start to really narrow it down. But do you think Geno Metcalf is top 10?
Nope.
No.
Okay. I assume Goff, Amon-Ra is at least borderline top 10, right? I just skipped him.
Yeah.
Yep, for sure.
Okay. Purdy, Ayuk. What's our
Yeah.
thoughts there?
Yeah, I think you could argue top 10 for sure.
Okay. Stafford and Puka,
Yeah, same.
probably. Bryce Young, Deontay Johnson.
Just
can't
delete
be.
him. Just
Yeah.
delete him. We don't
Get
even need to talk about
get
it.
the fuck out of
Same
my
with
face.
New Orleans.
Yeah,
Same
Carr and
with-
Olave.
And
Yeah.
Same with Atlanta.
I
I like
think-
Kirk Cousins, but what has London shown us yet? And it's not his fault, but
I think it's fair. Let's leave them for right now just because I don't think they're embarrassing.
they are not embarrassing. That you are correct there.
And I don't think anybody else in the NFC here is embarrassing either, probably.
No.
Agreed.
Okay. Pittsburgh, Wilson Pickens probably has to go.
Yeah.
Okay. Lamar, Zay, I think they're fine there.
Arguable.
Yeah, arguable. Deshaun Cooper, Amari Cooper. What's our thoughts?
No,
They probably gotta go.
Okay.
Just yeah.
Burrow, Chase are good, obviously.
Yep.
Mahomes, Kelsey, are you cool with calling Kelsey a wide receiver?
Yeah, fine.
Okay. Herbert Johnson got to go, I assume.
For sure.
Yep.
Richardson, Pittman. What's our thoughts there?
Gotta go. We've only seen what, like 6 games out of Anthony Richardson?
One full one. So yeah, that's fair. Trevor and Christian Kirk, borderline, or are they out?
I think they're arguable. I think we leave them in just for now.
Okay, Stroud Diggs, I assume, is good.
Yep.
Seen enough out of Stroud. Levis
For sure.
Hopkins probably gone.
Gone.
They got to be gone.
Rodgers, Wilson, have you seen it? I mean, it's still Aaron Rodgers, right?
Yep.
Probably
Good.
good. And then
Last two are
Tyreek
good.
Okay. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So the borderline ones were Cousins, Trevor Lawrence, probably both gone.
Yeah.
Yep. I think those are the 2 worst ones here, right?
Yeah, I think Baker, Mike Evans, you could argue.
They would probably be the next one that I would kick out of this group.
I would as well. Yeah.
Well,
Okay.
yeah,
No,
yeah,
you-
yep.
You have to.
Yeah. Mike Evans or Lamar Jackson is a better quarterback than Mike Evans is receiver. And I guess that's comparing Flowers and Baker is on the same level.
It's also like Baker's only shown inconsistency. I love him. And then Mike Evans is old.
Yep,
This
yep.
point.
Agreed.
Okay. Any other glaring ones that we for sure just need to get rid of?
I mean, maybe not for you guys, but for me, yes. Purdy Ayuk. I love Brandon Ayuk, but every single quarterback in here is either a playmaker or is playing with arguably the best receiver in the NFL. I think Purdy's an outlier here. Now, you may disagree. I could see the same argument about Jackson and Flowers with Zay Flowers, but those are the 2 odd guys looking in at the bottom of that top 11 for me.
What's your thoughts, Luke?
Yeah, Trevor, you're probably right. I'm not going to say that Purdy's not the guy, but just looking at it's probably the weakest duo out of the 11 here, I would say.
What I'm doing, at least from my point of view, and definitely sure if you have a different point of view, we don't need to be aligned in this. But I'm thinking of it like truly, like they are a duo, they're attacked together. You know what I mean? Like Lamar Jackson individually, 2-time MVP, incredible player. You could argue he's the best quarterback in the league. But his passing attack with Zay Flowers isn't the weapon, right?
Okay. Yeah. I think if we're going by that, Jackson Flowers does have to come off.
Yeah, and you could argue Purdy. Like Purdy, I think is either extremely overrated or extremely underrated, depending on who you talk to, which is weird. Like he's a system quarterback, and that's not an issue. That's not a knock. But he delivers the ball to the person on target.
Yep.
And it doesn't matter if it's Brandon Ayuk or if it's somebody else. So maybe that's why he comes off.
Yeah. I mean, I think if we're taking Lamar Jackson and Zay Flowers off, we're taking Purdy and Brandon Ayuk off for sure.
Okay. Does that leave us with 9?
Yeah.
Okay. Yep. Okay.
I mean, I think I can make things easy here. Like, number one has got to be Mahomes and Kelsey, right?
I think so.
Like, that's a top 3, top 5 duo in NFL history.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is so reliable, regardless if Kelsey's aging or not. Like, yeah, like on third down, who's he going to go to? On big moments, who's he going to go to? And somehow he's always open. Somehow they know exactly what. I mean, Kelsey's pointing to Mahomes who to throw. Like,
Right.
it even goes further than just him catching the ball. Like, they're insane. They're insane.
I'll put somebody up there for ninth. I think to me now the odd man out is Stroud and Diggs. Stroud, I
Yeah.
love him as a player. Stroud has had one good year. He's never even thrown a ball to Diggs, and Diggs is Diggs. Like, I'm not saying he's a bad receiver, but I think there are a lot of, at least Aaron Rodgers, we brought him up. We've seen him throw the ball to Wilson, and we know they're both incredible players. Stroud, you've seen 1 year.
Agree, Trevor. I think this is probably the 9 here. This is the ultimate. Probably could be the highest riser, I would say.
For sure. Yeah, I think that's completely fair. Haven't seen what they can do, and truthfully, like, I don't know if, I mean, for sure, neither of them have proven that they can do it consistently at a winning level. Like, you could argue Stephon Diggs, but we haven't seen enough out of CJ Stroud, in my opinion. So I think that's fine. I think by default, I hate it. I can't stand it. I feel like Tua and Tyreek probably have to be on here somewhere.
Yes. For as unqualified of a passer I think Tua is, Tyreek's somehow always open and he always gets on the ball.
Yeah.
Rank them as a duo. I think they're definitely higher than Stafford and Nakua. I think they're higher than probably Rodgers and Wilson. And probably that's what I'm leaving at. Just because we've seen Tua and Tyreek together 2 years now.
Yeah, and Tyreek continues to, lead the league or be up there.
Right.
So whatever you want to say about either of them, and you can say a lot about both of them, together they're probably the most dangerous at like any point on the field in any duo on here, I think.
For sure.
It's not because of Tua, but they still are.
For sure.
Anybody you want to nominate to put in that top 5 or rule out?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I'll rule out, and it pains me to do this again. Now that we're at a new level, Rodgers and Wilson. I love Aaron Rodgers, but I don't think we've seen enough from him and Wilson to rank them with these other guys.
Yeah, Trevor, I don't necessarily disagree with you. They're like I said, they're probably on the lower end of the 9 here. Had Rodgers played last year, these two are probably a top 3 duo. But outside of it, I think you can make better arguments for the other 5 remaining here.
Yeah, that's fair. They have 0 stats together, so kind of hard to say that they are dominating anybody. Burrow, Chase probably on the 5, right?
I mean, they got to be, right?
Yeah.
Okay. It's another one where let's see. I want to see another year out of them. Then they're probably solidified top 3.
Sure. Yeah, I think that's fair.
For
2
me,
spots left.
For me, I'm going to nominate Dallas. This isn't a postseason award, in my opinion. CD, we saw what he was last year, and say what you will about Dak, and I do think he struggles a bit in the playoffs, but he can feed CD the ball anywhere at any time, and there's a reason dude was an absolute monster last year. I think he's definitely higher than Jalen Hurts and Brown to me, and it's now we're getting really tough, but I think Dak can do a little more all around than Stafford, although Stafford's a better passer.
Are they better than Goff and St. Brown?
I would
I
say
think so.
I think it's closer than most people think, but I think so.
Because then I would go Goff and St. Brown at 5.
Okay, what's your reason?
I think Goff is probably okay. So Stafford and Nakua, we've seen 1 year. Cool, it was an incredible year. Let's see another year, and my opinion could change. I think Goff's a better quarterback than Jalen Hurts, and I think Amon-Ra is a better receiver than AJ Brown. And I think that was kind of proved last year, right? It's kind of like I'm not going to call him a poor man. Well, maybe kind of a poor man's Mahomes Kelsey. Amon Ra is always there on third down. He's always there on the big plays, right? I guess having a Sam Laporta helps. Having that good run game helps. But I don't know. Last year when they went to the NFC Championship, I felt like Amon Ra always came up in the big moment.
I think Amon Ra is really good, and this may be top 5. I'm not saying they are or are not top 5. I just don't see Amon Ra as like a dominating receiver at all yet. I feel like he hasn't taken over a single game, in my opinion. He like feels like a player where at the end of the game, you're like, oh, that's weird. I don't remember him having 100 yards. Or weird, he had 80 yards. And it might be a big play. It might be a broken play. God knows he's benefited from a lot of broken plays in this division. I don't trust Goff at all, if he doesn't have a pocket, if he doesn't have play action, and if he's not at home at the perfect time. Like, I feel like he still hasn't done enough either. But Amon Ra, I think he's a really, really good all-around player. I think he's a great blocker. I don't know if you're scared of Amon Ra yet.
That probably speaks to my point of how many weapons they have around him to kind of expose things too, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and you could say that about probably all 3 of these situations, probably.
Fair.
Yeah, I think that logic makes sense. I think we have a really hard decision between the Rams and Philly, because Stafford I'd like to see more about when he's not hurt, and Jalen Hurts is a solid quarterback, but I still have question marks about his arm. I understand A.J. Brown is a talent, but I mean, Puka Nacua just shot out of a cannon, but also 1 year of Puka Nacua. So that has to be discounted too.
And Goff and Amon Ra may be number 5. I'm not saying that they're not number 5 here.
Right. So if we're just based on the Rams Philadelphia, I mean, we've seen it 3-4 years now from Hurts and Brown. Like, I think it's an easy decision here between the Rams and Philly.
Yeah,
I think the Rams might be last. Like, I don't think defenses looked at Puka Nacua as the number 1 receiver at any point when Cooper Kupp played last year.
Yeah, so, I think we can eliminate him.
I also think this is a different conversation if Cooper Kupp had 1,200 yards and 12 touchdowns last year and we have him instead of Puka.
Sure. I just think as good as Puka was, I don't know if he really did a ton individually last year. Like, he was schemed open so much. And credit to him for doing the scheme. I just don't know if he really like beat a one-on-one matchup that often.
Yeah, it just come down to a case of show it to me again.
Yeah. I'm okay with ruling Stafford out of this 3. And then you could say anything about either of these 2. I'm going to let you 2 argue it. Like, I don't know between Philly and Detroit.
Well, I mean, I made my point about Detroit. Like, I think Goff's a better quarterback than Hurts, and I think St. Brown's a better receiver than Brown.
I think I would flip that.
It's tough because this is, like we talked about, like you talked about, Zach, like them together as a tandem. Like, if we're talking about everything, I'm going Philly hands down because Hurts can run the ball, and I think Brown is a great target in the red zone. Sure. But we don't have that anymore. Your point about Goff flipped me a little bit, because I just remember 2 years ago when I had him in fantasy, and again, fantasy versus real life doesn't mean a whole lot all the time, but I mean, the differences in splits between home and away was insane. He still makes a lot of mistakes, and to your point, the Lions have a lot of great weapons around him. And if I'm looking at Philly, Devontae Smith is a weapon. I don't really know if they had a ton else, at least comparatively. So I would give a slight nod to Philly.
You could argue we've seen maybe 1 season of Jalen Hurts throwing the ball well. Like, it wasn't last year, and it's because he got hurt. It's not his fault, whatever it is, what it is. But, like, I don't know if last year was the Hurts-Brown connection that we're thinking of.
2 years ago.
Right. And, like, I think A.J. Brown's better than Amon Ra as a receiver. You can say whatever you want about his effort on plays where he isn't catching the ball. But I I think Goff and Amon Ra are consistent in terms of like if they're at home, I feel like Goff's going to push for 275 and Amon Ra is going to have 100. And Hurts and Brown, we don't know anything. I don't know what they're going to do yet. There's games where AJ Brown disappeared, and there's a lot of games where Hurts couldn't make a damn throw because his shoulder was busted. Again, I don't know how you factor in injuries into this though.
Well, and I mean, and again, this is kind of not a great argument overall, but when you're splitting hairs, like I don't remember the last time I got a big play, 30, 40, 50-yard touchdown from Amon-Ra St. Brown. I can think of multiple times when I've seen that from AJ Brown. And I'm not saying that Amon-Ra Brown can't make a big play, but if I'm thinking of I need a big play, not just a reliable play, I'm picking AJ Brown over Amon-Ra most times.
But to that point, I think Amon-Ra comes up with many more reliable plays than AJ Brown does.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I'm okay with putting Detroit at 5. I think they're 5 out of 5 here, though.
Yeah, they're definitely whoever's getting in here is 5th. That's no question.
Okay. Yeah, I'll put my vote for Detroit. I think that's okay.
If we're going based off the 1-year rule, then Detroit would have to win.
Okay, and Luke already made his argument for Detroit. Okay, in terms of the other rankings, I think we said Mahomes, Kelce are number 1. Pretty confident Goff and Amon-Ra are 5.
Yep.
Are you arguing for any? Who's your number 2? I guess.
Probably Tua and Tyreek, right? I feel like it's between Tua and Tyreek and Dak and CD for me. As much as I love Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase, I feel like we've seen them at their best once with each other, and then we've seen them at their best kind of without each other with injuries and whatnot. So I think all comes down to it. Like Burrow and Chase are probably number 2, but that's based on what we've seen without whatever. I don't know. Probably Dak and CD. It just seems like a force to me. Like going back to the AJ Brown, Amon-Ra argument, it seems like CD's coming up with reliable and huge plays.
Yeah, I think I completely agree with you that Burrow and Chase is 4. I think talent-wise, they are not 4th here. But, I mean, I've seen way too many games when Chase gets shut down, even when they're trying to get him the ball. Not shut down completely, obviously, but, isn't making the plays he should be making, isn't getting open when he should. So I think Dak and CD versus Tua Tyreek is for 2. I'd probably lean Tua and Tyreek at 2, just because Tyreek is so damn good. But if you told me they're 3, I wouldn't have a problem with that.
Okay, let's put Tua Tyreek at 2 then, just based on, I mean, they were so dominant. Like Tyreek was pushing for the all-time yardage.
Yep.
Like, there's no way you can stop them either. Like, that's one. Like, they're just dominant. I think I would have put Dak and CD at 4th, but because I truly don't trust either of them to do anything ever. But if you guys are thinking Burrow and Chase are 4, I'm fine with it.
So Zach, I don't necessarily disagree with you. I don't trust Burrow and Chase to ever be on the field together.
But when they are, they're
right.
Incredible. See, I mean, I'm not scared of a slot receiver.
Yeah.
I'm just not. And Burrow and Chase, I get the durability and everything. Does that matter right now?
No, fuck. What am I arguing? I love Burrow, I love Chase. Fuck Dak and fuck CD. I hate them both.
All right. Well, I'm very quickly in the minority, but I mean, again, as long as Dak and CD isn't 5th, it is what it is. I won't whine and moan too much.
This is the thing. Like, so 3rd and 10, game-winning drive, they're going to have to pick up, or regardless, game-winning drive, these quarterbacks have the ball. You're trying to play defense. If they score, they win. I'm terrified of Chase destroying us. And CD, I'm just like, jam them.
It's certainly easier to scheme around CD.
Counterpoint.
And Dak.
If you put T. Higgins on Dallas, does that change things and open it up a little bit for CD? I'm not saying it does, but I think
I
they
think
have a
so
much
because I
better
think
wide
T.
receiver,
Higgins is
too.
the number one receiver.
Because I mean, I think if we're taking supporting cast out of this, if you give Dallas T. Higgins, I don't know how that changes things because we've never seen it. But I mean, that's something that we do have to take into account because he's a hell of a player.
If you give Dallas a T. Higgins like receiver, do you respect Dak Prescott?
No.
Yeah.
Probably not. No.
And Burrow was like, okay, he's top 3. Hopefully he can win a Super Bowl. That's what we were thinking before this
Yeah,
last
you're right.
injury, or maybe 2 injuries ago. I don't know. But he got to that point quickly.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, I'm not fucking with Joe Burrow.
Yeah,
Like, I'm
no,
scared of that. I'm scared of that motherfucker.
you're 100% correct.
Yeah, Dak
Now,
doesn't have a contract. He's playing for a contract.
Now, here's one devil's advocate, and I know I'm just going to go against myself, but
Go for it.
I just want to hear the logic. Tua and Tyreek almost beat the record, yes. They also lost at home to the Packers 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Does that, I know it's one game, but I mean, does that stick in your mind at all? Or it's like, it's the Packers.
I think Tua sucks. So, I don't know. You're preaching to the choir here.
What did Tyreek get in that game? I guess I should think about that before I bring it up because he probably had 150 and a touchdown.
Yeah.
I don't remember.
Probably. And then
All right, let me
Tua
do
probably
some-
had 2 terrible interceptions.
Someone fumbled. I think Jalen Waddle might have fumbled. And I think it was bad offense. That was a bad offensive line for Miami. Isn't that when Tua went paralyzed that year?
Yeah. But it was just a spine injury, not a head one. So it's
Yeah.
okay.
All right.
Yeah, no harm, no foul. His fingers were doing sign language while he was unconscious, but it was okay.
Throwing up gang
No.
signs.
That's right. And then their offensive line got worse this year, and he lost a bunch of weight, but they're in a good spot. Don't worry about it, everybody. Their defense got worse too. But yeah,
All right.
Dolphins are Super Bowl contenders.
All right, so I got it. So
Okay.
Mostert lost a fumble.
Okay,
Okay.
that's what it was.
Tua fumbled twice. He recovered one, and Robert Hunt recovered the other one. Jalen Waddle 5 for 143 and a touchdown, but one of them was 84 yards.
I was like to start the game.
Yeah, and Tua was 4 for 103. His longest was 52 yards.
Okay.
So he only had 6 targets too, so I can't really talk shit about his 4 receptions because Tua was dog shit.
I
That is
kind of
fine.
want to put Burrow and Chase ahead of Tua and Tyreek. Now that I thought about it a little bit more.
I'm not a Jamar Chase guy, but I'm a Joe Burrow guy. I'm afraid for his career. I could see one more injury and we're like, he could never get away from injuries. But in
Greg
terms of the
Oden
player,
2.0.
maybe. Yeah, I don't know. This
Yeah,
is
it's-
as it is right now. Do you want to make a switch?
No, like you said, as much as you're scared of Joe Burrow, I'm scared of Tyreek Hill.
Very, very.
Yeah.
I like it.
You've made the argument numerous times, Luke, on our streams. Tyreek might be the best receiver in the NFL.
Yeah.
And it's tough to argue against it at any point. You could say he's not the most skilled player, and I think he's not. He's so fucking fast. You can't guard him unless you're the Ravens and you try to press him, and then he goes for 80-yard touchdowns over and over.
I think another interesting thing too is, and again, fantasy. I think this speaks to it. Very rarely, I think, is the best receiver in football also the best fantasy receiver in football, and he does both effortlessly, which I don't think we've seen in a very long time.
He's just so good.
Yep.
He changes your entire defensive scheme for the week.
Yep.
You can't double him. You can't jam him. You can't do anything. You just have to make sure he doesn't go for 80 yards and a touchdown. You just have to have safety help, and that's it. And hope Tua makes a bad throw. That's all it is. And when Tyreek was on the Chiefs, he would probably say Mahomes and Tyreek.
For
Right?
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is our top 5. Let us know in the comments. Let us know wherever if you agree with our top 5. If you have a glaring issue with any of these 5, let us know in the comments for sure. And like I said up top, I'd like to know who you think the worst QB1, wide receiver 1 pairing is. There's some bad ones. Carolina comes to mind.
Yeah, probably New England is in there.
New England's in there. I mean, unproven all around. So that's fair.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think. Is there another? I mean, no. Will Levis, DeAndre Hopkins is okay because of DeAndre. I mean, they had a 3-touchdown game, so I suppose.
Yep.
Plus,
They're okay.
Levis has at least played in the NFL, right? Like that helps him. He doesn't look awful, completely awful at all times.
Hard to tell. I can't get past who he is. Like, you know,
That's fair.
like I don't think of him as the football player. I think of him as the person. Can't get past it. He's a weirdo. He's an asshole. He's nepotism all over. Don't like it. But yeah, let us know what else you want us to rank. If you want us to rank other position groups like running back duos, we can certainly do that since every team is taking the Belichick committee approach nowadays. So we could certainly do that. We could do what else could we do? Head coach, quarterback, I suppose, is one. Wide receiver trios or receiving cores.
Corner tandems,
Secondaries. Yeah.
pass rushing tandems,
Yeah, we could do all kinds of stuff. So definitely let us know
kicker,
what you
punter.
want to do. That would be a great one.
We should do a team felon tandems, right? Like, so Kansas City would have like Isaiah Buggs and some other guy who got charged with something really bad.
I mean, Rashee Rice.
Oh yeah, boy. Thank God for Isaiah Buggs for Rashee Rice, eh?
I mean, the Chiefs, you can go over and over and over. They may have an issue there that winning covers up a lot of. I love Andy Reid, but there's a pattern that they do not care about off the field issues.
They're kind of like Georgia, eh?
Kind of like Georgia, except for Georgia may have this too, but the Chiefs have a bank robber murderer as their super fan. Like that's their mascot essentially.
Oh yeah.
And I assume Georgia does too. Georgia should be sponsored by the biggest drag race company in the world. I don't know what that would be. They should have all of that, but is what it is. Anything else before we get out of here?
Oh.
Okay. Next week, we will have on our YouTube channel, so subscribe to the Flurry Sports YouTube. We will have us doing a draft of the best NFL teams in the league. So us 3 are going to be competing throughout the season. We each drafted 10 teams to see who would get the most wins, and we will have that for you next week. And then after that, maybe a non-sports one to cleanse the palate.